So I would like to welcome to my podcast this week, I have Steve from the band, the Hyena Kill. Welcome, Steve.
All right, mate.
How are you doing today, man?
Well, as you can see from my background, I'm currently at work, so I'm on my dinner break doing this.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you for your time doing this.
No, not at all, man.
Like I said before, you from the band Hyena Kill. You've just released a brand new album. It's called A Disconnect, and it is out now across all formats. And by all formats, I mean everything from streaming to cassette tape and everything in between. Currently on your Bandcamp as well. So people looking at the Bandcamp side of things, go find you on there because that's a great platform to get people listening to stuff. I feel.
Yeah, it's the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
The vinyl, it's the vinyl. I mean, there's only a limited run, but the pink splatter vinyl is just gorgeous, man. I was blown away when I saw that.
Yeah, I'm very tempted to get that myself. To be honest with you, I saw it yesterday when I was doing some bits for this interview, and I was like, because I'm a DJ from way back in the day, and I love vinyl. I've got my turntable set up in front of me right here, and yeah, I was very tempted. It looks really nice, and yeah, I'm probably going to get it.
Yeah, obviously, I thoroughly recommend that you do. It just looks good spinning on turntable. To be fair,
yeah. No, definitely, and like I said, I mean, I love like the vinyl's had a resurgence, especially with like independent bands as well, like the not just like the big bands releasing box sets that are extortionate amounts of money, that bands are actually getting the opportunity to press their stuff like a reasonable rate on vinyl.
Oh yeah, man, it's I mean, there's nothing like getting your record on vinyl, but it's also it's a viable income stream.
Yeah,
That's where you can actually generate some actual money from like physical copies.
Yeah,
because streaming, it's just almost you get next to nothing. So
yeah,
I'm glad that people, and it's a better experience when you get a vinyl.
oh totally.
It's just, I adore it. I love the artwork. I love the physicalness of it. Everything about it.
Yeah. I mean, sort of regular listeners to the show will know my love for vinyl and the fact that it's like you're owning obviously the larger case of the art that you guys produce for the album and everything. You've got that on there in a big scale, but you've also got the music etched into this vinyl, this plastic, and it's like you're owning a piece of the music as well as sort of like appreciating the art in higher detail.
Oh, definitely. Plus, it outlives you. I've always liked that thing. I always like that when I'm dead and gone, that vinyl,
yeah,
would just keep existing until it's completely destroyed. I like that idea that it'll just last forever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a testament to some of the vinyl I've got, like sort of 80s rock metal kind of things, you know, Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. But I inherited my father's part of my father's record collection, so I got Stone.
Oh, nice.
I got Clapton, I got all that kind of stuff as well. So I know this stuff goes on, like it predated me and it's going to go on after me as well. I don't know if I can pass this on to my kids or not. At the moment, they've got their phones, they've got their Apple Music or Spotify, you know, and they're just like, oh, this is how I get my music, which is, you know, it's a great way to get the music. But I'm going to teach them the pride of owning a piece of it.
Oh yeah, my dad's got Paranoid Black Sabbath, like what he bought, like one of the original pressings, and really he just will not. It still won't let me have it. It's like holding on to it. I'm like, you know what? I'll wait till you're dead, and then I'm definitely having
it. I'll grab it then. Just make sure you put a post-it note on it beforehand. Cool. Well, let's chat a bit more about the album. I've got a couple of favorite tracks of mine. I really love Bleached. I know you released that as a concentration cap track on there, or a single, if you will. But I'm also loving what was it? Passive Disconnect.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I think that's track 2. Yeah, and I mean, I'm loving the whole album. It's got a really cool vibe to it. It's I mean, with the sort of like press we got with it, it's like, you know, for fans of like Deftones, Tool, Helmet, stuff like that, which I am a fan of, so it went down well. But like the sound you've got, I mean, I know you guys have been around for a little while.
About 10 years now, I think.
Yeah, but this is the first time I think I've properly heard you guys. I mean, it's not like it's just the sort of like circles I run in and stuff, but I'm gonna go back and listen to your other stuff as well. But where did this, like, actually let's just go back. Can I get a bit of origin story on the band? Like you say, you've been around for about 10 years, but what has your journey been like so far?
Well, it was just it started with me and Lorna, the drummer. We did originally, when the very first incarnation was, we had a bass player, his name was Ollie, and we recorded like an EP, and then he left shortly after. But it was, me and Lorna were both in 2 separate bands in Manchester, and we're sort of like on the same scene, but the bands we were in weren't really what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it was just a house party. There was like an electric kit there and a guitar. We just sort of, the side of the party, just had a little jam, and straight away was like, holy shit, this is what we just realized, this is the music that we both want to be making.
Yeah.
And we just got in a rehearsal room soon after that, and then pretty much left both our bands and just pursued this. But after Ollie left, we kind of had to figure out how to be a 2-piece. It was kind of before the big surge of 2-pieces as well, so I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And luckily a friend of mine guided me through sort of like the techie side, and we just worked from there. And we were very almost like hardcore garage rock. It was just loud, in your face, high energy, and we just kind of just blasted it out on the underground scene, like especially around Manchester, for a long time. And then we finally got to a position where we released a couple more EPs, some ridiculous videos, and then we just kind of then we were ready to record the album. And I think by the time we did the first album, we'd got a bit of direction. We knew where we're heading. And there's a track on there called Waiting Room, which is the first sort of hint of where we are now with the Disconnect. It's got mellow vibes. It's really quite ethereal in places. And that's the kind of music that me and Lorna, when we're not writing the really in your face heavy stuff, we're always indulging in that shoegazy type sound, because we were huge fans, and still are huge fans, of Warpaint. And so we always used to like to mess around with them vibes. But it's finding space. You couldn't just drop that in the middle of our set, because it was so high octane and so heavy and screamy that it just didn't. It was just we couldn't find a way to do that.
Yeah.
To drop that kind of thing in. And then we just kept going, man. We toured. We toured relentlessly. Did festivals and everything. But I mean, we still relatively just remained underground, really, for the longest time, and still are. But it was just feels nice to be. We always knew we wanted to expand the sound and try something new and really push the boundaries, but we felt a bit limited as a 2-piece, especially because we're not really tech savvy. So using like triggers and stuff with just the 2 of us, it would just been a mess. So we always kept things simple. So we only recorded what we knew we could perform live.
Yeah.
So that kind of comes across in the records as well. It's very just very stripped back and in your face. But coming over to this record, the most recent one, we wanted to do everything that we've always like dreamed of in terms of sounds. But we sort of released our EP in 2018, Spun, and we toured the hell out of that. And then we just kind of came to a position where it was like, you know what, we feel like we took this two-piece thing as far as we can go.
Yeah.
And we had the bare bones of a track called Cauterized, what's on a disconnect, knocking about, and it was pretty much a full song, but it just felt a little bit empty. Was it quite working? And we had a discussion, and we said, you know what, I think it might be time to call it a day. You know, we've been slogging at it for a long time now, and we both agreed we've got this track. It is actually a cool track, but it's not working. So we just decided to we said, let's sod it. Let's go in the studio and just record one last single and like a bit of a farewell.
Yeah.
And we said, well, why didn't we just? This song obviously needs more. Why don't we just get a couple of our best mates in? Let's just have some fun and record just a big, massive soundscaping track.
Yeah.
But the moment where all four of us got in the room and started working on it, it just clicked instantly. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it really did. It was so natural. And by the end of the rehearsal, we'd got not only a full song ready to go, but we'd also got like the workings of two new songs just from like one jam. So it was just like that. And then we did it again.
Yeah.
Another jam, and then we were like, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's do an album.
Yeah.
And none of it was planned, really.
That's I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's one of those things where if it comes together like naturally, and you know, like you say, when it clicks, you know this is going to work, and then you keep going on it. Like I say, I mean, from that, like from what you've said, then like having like finishing that song and then having ideas for others, and then it just spirals from there and just keeps going and blossoming. And obviously now you are a 4-piece. Is that an official thing, or are you still just 2+2? Or
no, it's definitely we're definitely a 4-piece now. The whole thing was very collaborative. It was it felt like a full band from the word go. It never at any point did it feel like me and Lorna were two bolted on, almost like session musicians. It was, everybody was involved, trading ideas, and it opened up this new world, especially for me as the vocalist, because all the pressure wasn't on to be playing guitar all the time, which allowed me so much more space to work on melodies and vocal lines and vocal delivery. And you can hear that transition from our older records into this one. You can see that I've got more space and I was able to do more things. And it was so exciting and so freeing that it was just like musical freedom that it just spurred me on.
Nice.
Completely.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, the album you guys have produced is fantastic. I've had it on heavy rotation since I had it in my hand, or in my computer, I should say. But no, I've had it on heavy rotation. I've been recommending it to friends and stuff, and just sort of, it doesn't, you know, there's only a few bands I've done that with, like you should,
nice.
anything, but it's just sort of like I know like from the sound that you guys have, I know a lot of people that would be into that. Like they would love that mixture of sounds that you have, and so far it's been successful in recommending it to the few people that I have, and I'm going to continue to do so because it is
thank you,
brilliant album. I was going to ask as well, you've got sorry, my notes are just there, but no, I was going to say you're playing ArcTanGent
Yes.
This year. After, like, I mean, we could go into the COVID era if you want to, but I'm sort of like looking ahead now. I've had my first jab, if you will, and I'm looking forward to getting out and seeing live music along with a lot of other things as well. But like, were you originally on the ArcTanGent when it was cancelled last year?
Yeah, we were. I was gutted. I was really gutted, and now I'm just shitting myself because it's going to be the first show that we play as a 4-piece.
Oh wow!
So if it was, even if it was just me and Lorna, I'd be shitting myself because I absolutely adore that festival, and it's so to walk out. There's going to be some serious nerves going on because I've no idea how it's going to go. It's quite a bit. It's such a big gig for us to do as a first gig.
Yeah,
there's not really scope at the moment to line something up beforehand, but it'll be fine. I mean, the nerves are good. The nerves are good, but
oh no, totally. That will drive you. Like, I guarantee as soon as you hit that first note, they'll disappear and then the adrenaline will kick in.
Yeah, that's if I hit the first note, unless I just go,
I'll give the first note to someone else.
Yeah, I don't want that kid. No way.
But no, I mean, this is the thing I'm sort of looking forward to, because there's a few sort of like shows that were pushed back from last year. I've still got tickets for, and I'm just sort of, it's not so much being out and about amongst other people. It's sort of just like being at, like, because we've been cooped up, you know, past year, and there's been no outlet. I mean, I'm a DJ and I DJ nightclubs, and they've been shut since March last year as well. So, you know,
shit.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like, I'm really looking forward to them coming back. Like, I've been fortunate enough to get the first my first COVID jab, which is great, and that's given me more of a positive light to it, because before I was kind of like, no, nothing's going to happen this year. Nothing's going to happen this year. It's going to be, but now I'm looking at it, and I'm sort of seeing how quickly they are getting through the vaccination process. For me being on there, because I'm not like top tier or anything like that. So it's just sort of like, it's given me that hope of actually being able to play somewhere this year, and then going to watch guys like yourself perform this year.
It's got to happen for everybody's sanity, man. It's got to happen.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's been an absolute, like, initially there was like this, like, I think like the first lockdown, I've had multiple ones, but like I had this like novelty effect with it. Like, it was like, oh cool, we're getting like 2 weeks off work paid, and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, cool. And then it kind of like escalated and kept going, and then everything kind of went, and then like the mental health took an absolute battering. Like,
oh god, yeah.
I mean, it's just it's one of the things that I try and like talk about. I've talked about on the show with other arcs. I was in quite a fortunate position with this. I managed to talk to bands like yourself like last year, just like just loads of bands, because they're all at home. But like I went back and listened to some of them, and every sort of level of like mood were in those interviews, even from myself. Just like, one moment I'm up, I'm like, oh cool, and it must have been a moment where you felt all right, and then the next minute you're just like, this year's rubbish, just like,
oh god, I dread to think if I was doing this interview this time last year. Christ, I'd have probably been pissed. In fact, I'd have definitely been pissed.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, it's obviously, it's crazy, everyone's going through it, and it's just sort of, but I feel that once we're kind of like at a point where, like, specifically live shows return, obviously, like I say, along with other stuff, cinema, pubs, nightclubs, all that kind of stuff, there's going to be a sense, I'm not going to sort of liken it to, say, roaring 20s, where everyone partied for a decade and then everyone went bankrupt.
Could happen.
It could happen, and it probably will. But I just feel it'll be like, people won't take it for granted, hopefully, anymore. Not the band members, but the sort of gig goers. Like, I found a lot of like bands struggling to get people to the shows. you know, relying on the classic Facebook invites. Yes, I'm interested, or I'm going, and no one turning
Oh
up.
God, the agony.
But I feel now that because it's been taken away from everyone, there's going to be this different purpose to going to them, like, and actually enjoying the time they have at them, and seeing their friends' bands and seeing these new bands and stuff. Because this is what I mean, ideally, this is what I'd love to come out of it. A lot of like bands like yourselves getting that, like, just push that surge of crowds coming to shows. And like, whereas like before, like I was in a band years ago back in the early 2000s, and there was always the complaint, like the big American bands coming over and and then like taking all the shows, or and all that kind of shit. And it was just like, I've always maintained that it's sort of like, support grassroots level bands.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And I'm hoping this will spur people on, because things like the Bandcamp Fridays have been quite successful for a lot of bands.
Oh man, it's awesome. That was amazing. I'm glad that it's still going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one thing that really opened my eyes to people. Actually, there is a scene out there, if you will, of people that are supporting these bands, and they know when to support them, because like when Bandcamp go, we're waiving our fees. And then the bands, obviously it helps Bandcamp as a whole, because it gives more active users and whatnot, if you want to put it into the business algorithm. But it's great for the bands, because you're funding that band. Like, I mean, through streams and stuff, we know you don't get very much. But through purchasing even the MP3s, like through Bandcamp or whatever,
anything,
yeah, you get that higher portion of cut for it, after obviously things like obviously expenses, label, all that kind of stuff, the usual record sort of like industry cuts, if you will.
Well, if you look at the rescheduled tour dates, that the ones that were cancelled, they're just selling out so quickly. That, I mean, that's a great sign. People are desperate to get out to these sweaty floor shows again. It's I mean, I'm just looking at like friends' bands, and I'm just like really chuffed just to see that. I mean, there's a good chance that if it had gone ahead, that some dates on the tour might not have sold as well, but
yeah,
it's just great to just see constantly selling out. It's a really positive sign.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like with other festivals and stuff that are continuing, like this year, I think Bloodstock are really pushing out the boat, in as much as advertising, saying we are going ahead. And they've booked a lot of, their bands, obviously now, like the overseas bands, a lot of them unfortunately have had to pull out, just due to their sort of local situations. But they have replaced them with British bands, which is like, it's becoming like a big British metal festival.
Yes.
Which is amazing, and they've still got some international acts on there, Devlin Townsend, and
I'm a bit gutted Chelsea Wolf's not doing ArcTanGent now.
Yeah,
I'm a bit gutted about that, but
yeah, no, I was hoping to hit it last year, because I mean, the band, the namesake of the festival, the band Earth Tone 9.
Yes, God, they're right back from my early teens. I saw Earth Tone 9 supporting Soulfly.
Oh wow, yes.
And Glassjaw opened up. That was, yeah. No, Earth Tone 9 opened up. They were mint.
Yeah,
such an awesome band.
And I saw them on that tour as well, actually. That was that was great. I saw them in London. And yeah, I mean, they were supposed to, I think they're going to play it this year, but they're celebrating the 20th anniversary of ArcTanGent, their album. And they're playing that in the entirety. And I was like planning on going last year, and I hope, I'm hoping to go this year, because I'm wanting to hit some of these festivals, because I've never been to ArcTanGent before.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, a lot of my friends have been. They said it's an absolute, like, it's one of those festivals that's a sort of like pleasure to go to. Obviously the music is fantastic, which is great, but the general atmosphere and the sort of surroundings and stuff are not what, like, my traditional sort of like festival. Well, when I used to go to them, was like Reading Festival and stuff like that back in the day. and it was just like dusty, or it was really muddy, or it was really like, you know, that you got the crappy burger van and and all that kind of stuff.
There's just a community there, man. Everybody just is passionate about the music, so it's all the tents are always full at all times.
That's awesome.
Or you're always playing to a good crowd, that want to hear you, or they've heard good things, and everyone just wants to check out new bands, and it's such a good crack. It's so good. You're gonna have a blast.
Yes, I'm hoping to go to it. So, but if I do, I'll come say hi. And I've got a couple of questions left for you. I'll let you get on with the rest of your lunch, actually, because I know I'm pulling you away from that. But what I'd like to do is these questions more about yourself, just on musical sort of background and stuff. Now, what I would like to know is your three, if you could, like, three honorable mentionable albums. So not your favorite albums, like you've got your top 10, but what I want are your honorable mentions. So outside of that top 10, if you can.
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, you put me on the spot there. I know what you, because I'm instantly going to my top 10. Okay, Pinkerton by Weezer.
Yep.
That really turned my head when I was young. Surfer Rosa, Pixies.
Oh, yep, yep.
And right. I'm gonna go with Vulgar Display of Power, Pantera.
Cool. It's quite a mix there, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Pantera, obviously, iconic band, and that album as well. But the Pixies one, I haven't heard that album in such a long time. So I'm going to go back and listen to that, because it's why I ask these questions. It's like, I don't want the top 10, because usually they're kind of around the same bands. But yeah, no, these are, and Pinkerton, Weezer, again, Weezer are a great band. Just sort of so, I don't know how to describe them, but yeah, they're just good to listen to.
Well, I never connected with them until my cousin bought me Pinkerton when I can't remember. I was in my early teens, and I wasn't really bothered about like the more like commercial radio stuff. And then when I heard that, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, and
it's always stuck with me. Like I'll often blast it, or I will take a few tunes and just to remind myself of that moment when it just like, wow, this is class.
Yeah. No, they're one of the band. They do take you, like, from the outset, they don't look like much, but when you actually dig into their discography, if you will, it's just brilliant. It's just one of them.
Oh, no, I'm remembering loads of stuff now. I've done top 3.
That's all right. We'll stick with these. We'll keep them for next time. So what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not doing anything Hyena Kills or anything like that, what do you kind of get up to? Any sort of like special hobbies or anything like that?
Oh God, I basically, if I'm not working, I'm jamming. That's, I don't, I mean, I used to love going to the cinema,
yeah,
and watching films and reading, but no, I mean, I like to lock myself, even on a red hot sunny day, I like to lock myself in the band room and just piss about on guitar. That's kind of how I spend a lot of my spare time.
Yeah.
Or just jamming with friends. Because, well, I used to like going out and getting messed up, but I don't do that anymore. So
fair enough. Yeah.
So it's like books and cinema.
Yeah.
Is like one of my main interests outside of music.
Cool. Any particular films or anything that you like?
Oh God. well, I like, I gotta watch, I like indie films, and I watched one recently called Swallow that really just, it stuck with me. In fact, I was thinking about it this morning.
Yeah.
As I found it on Netflix.
Okay.
But yes, I really like horror films.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. No,
Anything that's weird and creepy and unnerves me. Midsummer keeps popping into my head, and I ain't watched that for ages. But that film just keeps
yeah, it stays with you for a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that. That's what I like stuff like that that creeps me out and just and makes me think about it often.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always been a fan of sort of the horror genre as a whole, but it's no, the ones that stick with you, the ones that kind of have that psychological edge that just implant in your head, and then occasionally you're just like, oh shit.
Definitely.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Steve, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you.
I really do appreciate it. I know you've taken time out your day during your break and everything. So I just want to thank you for that. And yeah, good luck with the album. Have fun at ArcTanGent, and hopefully we'll see you guys on tour.
Oh God, I really hope so, man. But yeah, come and say hello if you spot me.
Yeah, I will do.
At the festival.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. Have a good rest of your day.
You too, mate. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.